Hey everybody, Dream Akuma here. Uh, Random impromptu video. It's been a while since I've done a video, trying to kind of get over some stuff. So I thought, hey, let's do a video. Videos are fun, right? Right? So today's video is going to be D&D books that, or RPG books, I guess is a better way to put it. RPG books that aren't RPG books. I do want to throw out the idea that these are books that some actually do connect to what we'd use as tabletop settings. A few kind of have a tabletop feel to them, but there is no dedicated stats to them. There's no hard, statistics or anything. But these are great sources of information that you can use to run games or inspiration to add stuff to your games. I guess we're going to start off with two honorable mentions. We have the Dungeon Survival Guide. This is by Wizards of the Coast. It's a fairly thin book. I can't wholeheartedly recommend it because it is Dungeons and Dragons themed. But it's just like lists of the different famous dungeons in D&D, like Castle Greyhawk, which kind of had some problems, or Castle Ravenloft. Yeah, there we go, good one, Castle Ravenloft, or the Caves of Chaos, with these little blurbs and details. And I definitely dig it, the Dungeon of the Slave Lords, but it's just not quite good enough, in my opinion, for me to just say, hey, this is a day one buy, get it now. But it is kind of a fun read, and if you can get it cheap, I think I picked up mine at a half-price books for $5 whole. I think it's worth $5. Past that, I don't know. I don't think I can recommend it. But still a fun book nonetheless. Another one that's a little bit more recent and a heck of a lot more glaring is the Dungeonology. Now, this almost feels like it was supposed to be a kid's book, because it is a pop-up book. Like, it's so huge. There's tons of, like, pull-outs and stuff like that. But there's actually some good information in here. Oh, here we go. Let's pull out this map. Yeah, there's Volo's map just hidden in there. And I totally dig it. Once again, it's a little too much Dungeons and Dragons, a little too much tied to an RPG, but there isn't really any stats. It's tons of fluff and lore, and I think even if you're not a kid, maybe you're a big grown-up kid, you can have some fun with this. Probably my favorite piece about it was they used the old Forgotten Realms campaign setting type stuff from like 3rd edition in a little extra book. So you get 2 books in here. This one's a little bit smaller. But Volo's Guide to the Forgotten Realms. And it has, the Cult of the Dragon, the Rise of the Elementals, a bunch of stuff that's been going on in 5th edition. I'm not too keen on how they started kind of combining the Faerun Forgotten Realms setting with Greyhawk, but it's still very fun and rich to pull some ideas from. Also, putting this book back in its little corner piece is a little difficult. I think this is like $25. $25. This I think you could have a lot of fun with for $25. If you've got a kid who's wanting to get into the game, really cool. I still think it's really great for just pulling out neat ideas. And yeah, just fun. But they're a little too tied to D&D to really put them as a recommendation. Oh, geez, the glare. The dreaded glare. Alright, now on to the good stuff. The serious stuff. First off, the Atlas of Middle-earth. What's so great about the Atlas of Middle-earth? It is an Atlas of Middle-earth. That right there. The title. Worth it. This thing is filled. Outright filled with maps. Anybody who really likes fantasy usually has a penchant for enjoying fantastical maps. I remember the first time I read The Hobbit and I got to see the map of Lonely Mountain that was in the front of the book, you know, right after you open the cover. And stuff like that was just so badass to me. So cool. Where was it? I literally just saw it. There it is. They have a little map of the Prancing Pony in here. They have maps of like the travels everyone had. They have various battles and the marching orders of people. And everything that kind of went on. The maps are pretty easy to read. They come with very detailed descriptions. I've heard from some people that there's some inaccuracies, but if you're a ginormous Lord of the Rings fan, you probably wouldn't need this book. Like if you're a super mega fan. But if you just like... here's one that I really like. This was the third battle, which I believe had to deal with Ancalagon. Or no, Morgoth. They have the battle with Ancalagon the Black in here, and they actually show you like the big dragons, you know, where the dragons flew around and stuff. Really cool. Shows you like how campaigns can travel. They have a map of like how the Hobbit traveled and how the Fellowship of the Ring traveled. Totally awesome. I would wholly recommend this book. 110%. I don't know how much it is still in print. I think I paid like $12 for my copy. But it's totally awesome. And you should get a copy. Alright, next up. The Cthulhu Mythos Encyclopedia. I only have one complaint about this book. There isn't a good index, and they don't have a table of contents to tell you where the letters are. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but this is an encyclopedia of everything that's in the Cthulhu Mythos. Even the expanded stuff from Dereleth and everybody else. This is a totally awesome thing. Like, here we go. We'll just flip to a random part here. We're in the R's. Revelations of Glocki, a set of books detailing the practices of the cult of Glocki. These 11 volumes were originally handwritten by various worshippers of that deity who dwelt in England's Severn River Valley near Brychester. An escaped member of the cult secretly leaked their manuscripts to Supremus Press, which printed the Revelations in 1865. The worshipper who transcribed the books chose to leave out some portions, and the Revelations were released in a 9-volume set. Members of Glocki's cult brought up the edition, so very few non-initiates were able to obtain copies. And they go through a whole history, of that. The Revelations of Glocki, a series of books. You can find stuff like Sarkomond, the dreamland city in a valley below Lang, lying between the basalt cliffs of the plateau and the sea. The men from Lang used Sarkomond as their capital until they met the moon beasts 1,000,000 years before humanity appeared. The moon beasts still use Sarkomond as a place for docking and unloading captives. Literally, you can find adventure seeds in here. If you run Call of Cthulhu, I'd suggest it outright. I think this is a required book if you play Call of Cthulhu. If you don't play Call of Cthulhu, this is still really cool. It's still loaded with a bunch of fantasy and horror and science fiction and just good stuff. Even perusing it, you can kind of come up with some crazy ideas. Let's see, yeah, the Peaks of Thok. Mountains in the underworld of Earth's dreamlands. These mountains are made of granite and are completely devoid of life. Few dreamers who see them return to tell the tale. It's just good. It's good adventure seeking. The Cthulhu Mythos Encyclopedia by Daniel Harms. I think this is it's $18 MSRP on the back. Got it on Amazon a while ago. Pretty badass. Here we go. This is one that I really liked because I got it for stupid cheap. The Terry Pratchett's Complete Ankh-Morpork City Guide. I thought this was an RPG book. Whenever you have City Guide on there, and even the back kind of looks like it. This looks like an RPG book. It felt like an RPG book. There's a little binding here. Now this comes with a map. I don't have the map in here right now because I hung it up on my wall. It is a massive map. I want to say it's close to 2.5 feet by 2 feet. And it can come out of this jacket. But, the jacket's kind of nice, so. Now this is literally just a guide to the entire city, the Twin Cities of Ankh and Morepork. And it'll tell you the different businesses, how travel works in the city, accommodations. There's a bard with a walker, and he has a battle axe on his walker. That right there is worth whatever price tag this book is. Yeah, here we go. Complete Ankh-Morpork. This is food and drink. And it's almost written like a Yellow Pages. So, under C, the Cabinet Maker's Arms. In Proxton Square. The Cap and Bells. Cat full of sixpences. So named from an old Ankh-Morpork saying, which alludes to both liquidity and good fortune. A pleasant hostelry. I can't talk today. Jesus Christ. With beer garden and play areas for children. And it's just filled with stuff like that. The Fish and Ring. Hope Springs, Pallet Street. Local tradition has it that a small, malnourished fisherman found a magical ring in a fish he'd caught at a local stream. The proceeds from the sale of this artifact allowed him to stay drunk at a fortnight and buy this public house, still popular with fishermen. And you've got stuff there's little ads for stuff. And there's not a single stat in here, but it feels like there should be. This reminded me a lot of Volo's Guide in the best way. Personal services, clubs, and societies. Now, this book, I believe, retailed originally for $40. And at $40, I'd say this is still a really good book if you are huge on Discworld. If you wanted to run a game in the Discworld universe. I found this at what was it? Books A Million. And it's $5. It was in their discount section, their bargain price section, or clearance, whatever they want to call it, where they had the cheap stuff. And it was straight up $4.99 or $4.95, something like that. It was dirt cheap. And for the fact that it had the map, I'm like, well, that's worth $5. I love maps. I read through it, and I loved it. Loved it. If you can find it for the $5, jump on it. If you can find it for under the $40, jump on it. Totally awesome book. great read, great way to understand cities, and a great way to kind of spice things up if you're going to have like urban exploration in your D&D games. We're almost at the end, guys. I'm so sorry you had to put up with me for so long. This is Weapons and Fighting Techniques of the Medieval Warrior, 1000 to 1500 AD. Very big book. Now, this has a historical basis, I want to say. I don't know how historically accurate this stuff is, but it'll actually go into like the different weapons, the different fighting styles, the different battles, how armors worked, how different. They even go under like different how helmets and mail worked, and just different, all the different aspects of old medieval warfare. European knights and their equipment, and it'll piece it all out. Even different techniques like the boar snout and the shield wall. I'm trying to find some of the battles here. They kind of explain like some of the fighting techniques with different swords. They do cover like famous battles throughout the era. Here's one where they'll actually show you like the different campaigns and stuff. I don't know how much this book is right now. This is another Books A Million find where I got it on clearance for I think like $3, to be completely honest. And at $3, it's totally worth the sale. They show you how like the mantlet and battering rams would work, and you go throughout the different ages, and you can totally use what's in here in a medieval fantasy style game. You can use it wholesale if you wanted to make something with more realism to it, or you can take what's in here, ramp it up to 11, and really try to have those influences in there. I just loved flipping through this book and just tearing through some of the different battles and outcomes and how stuff worked, or fighting with a sword and buckler. So you can get those detailed descriptions. If you know those descriptions, you can make battles in your combats sound so much more visceral and real. And I definitely would suggest Weapons and Fighting Techniques of the Medieval Warrior 1000 to 1500 AD by Martin J. Daughtry or whatever. Alright, last but not least, I'm almost done rambling at you. This is a recent find. I got it at a half-price books for like $5. I think on Amazon you can get the paperback like I've got for like $4 plus shipping. This is Kingdom of the Dwarfs. The Kingdom of the Dwarfs. Big thing that appealed to me about this was the artwork reminded me a lot of the 1977 Hobbit. You get a bunch of great artwork of like dwarves, and it's under this faux pseudo, I don't want to call it scientific, but pseudo historical, pseudo academic piece. But they'll explain like different dwarven weaponry and dwarven society and sorcery that the dwarves would have, with all this beautiful art. And unfortunately my copy's used, so there was somebody who tried coloring in some pieces. I don't think they did a terrible job, but it's definitely noticeable, because they didn't finish some stuff. There's Dwarfs of Folklore, Secret Entrances to Dwarven Society, different pieces of folklore that the dwarves themselves allegedly had, and just more and more of that great art. So if you like dwarves, the Kingdom of the Dwarfs is definitely a fun little read with amazing artwork, and you can really flesh out your dwarven kingdoms. So that's a handful of books that aren't tied to an RPG system, or aren't tied to mechanics that you can definitely use to spice up your RPG game. Y'all take care.